Hi, and welcome to this brief Michael lecture on other types of promotional channels we could consider. Um, and this is not an exhaustive list at all. This is just a couple of examples of because when you talk about doing promotional messaging, you can really cast a wide net. There's a lot of things you can consider that are, as being channels that are out there to help you get your message across. One of them is product placement, and I'm going to give you real examples of things I've done with this, and they can be very, very successful. So I'm actually going to concentrate on one thing. I'm not going to go into a lot of the details of it, but I was working with an old school, been around forever, automotive aftermarket company, which makes parts and accessories and things like that for people to personalize their cars and improve the performance or the appearance or whatever it is that they wanted to do with their cars. It's a broad mix of things to that people buy to do just that. So so again, this was an old venerable company, been around for a long time, um, and had I saw an opportunity to expand into at that time a very small but growing part of the automotive aftermarket, which was um, younger people fixing up their small Japanese cars. Again, the traditional market was Detroit iron, muscle cars, all that kind of stuff, and um, and this was changing very rapidly um, into young people were doing the same types of things, but with very different looking products and very different brands and all that kind of stuff as they're fixing up their Honda Civics and their Mitsubishi Eclipses and whatever they're fixing up. And those and that was the one thing that was different between these two marketplaces was not just the age of the customers was um, in the case of the new market, which was called import tuner market, and there's one or different bunch of different names, but uh, but what was very different about it was there's a lot of lifestyle psychographics going on around what they were doing. They weren't just fixing up cars. Back in the good old days before that, the guys that were fixing up their Camaros and their Mustangs and that type of thing, they were just turning wrenches. That's what they did. That was their activity. That was pretty much the sum total of it. And they did car shows now and then and less formal things at the local drive-in or something like that. But these people really made a hole in the hot in the import tuner market was a whole lifestyle thing, and it was largely represented by um, a movie that came out and became super successful because again, this marketplace was actually had grown quite big by the time the movie came out. It was called Fast and Furious. So that was turned into a series of movies, but the first one was kind of an adventure. They wanted to get out there and do that, and because they knew that I was in that marketplace, we talked about doing sponsorships and titles and things like that. Um, and we did product placements. So some of our products were being installed onto the cars of the Fast and Furious. The actors were driving. Um, Very popular stuff, and we saw an incredible increase in awareness and also sales of those types of products as a result of that. So we paid, we were a sponsor of the movie, so we paid for quite a bit of it. It took off. It was super successful, and then when the next one came around, they said, "Okay, you guys are all in on this, right?" I mean, the price tag went so far up. I was like, "Wow, that is way out of my range," so I had to back off. Instead, we sponsored a show on H not HBO, MTV, sorry, called Pimp My Ride, and I didn't come up with a name. So, but it's still we product placement was an important part of that on that television show as well. So you can see how product placement works. We see them in TV shows. Sometimes they're really subtle, but that can of Diet Coke is not being hidden. It's very clear with that the person on the TV is drive or on the movie screen is drinking Diet Coke as an example. Um, So it's just kind of an interesting thing to do. It's called product placement, and you pay for that actually as an advertiser. Event sponsorship is a big deal. It depends a lot on who your target market is and whether events are important or not. But I've worked in a lot of industries where events were very important. So that car industry I was just mentioning, one of the again, I mentioned there's a lot of lifestyle around that marketplace, not just the products that fix up cars and all that kind of thing. They actually had a lot of shows, and the shows had dance. I won't go into all the names of the stuff because I don't know if they even mean anything anymore. But again, for your urban people who were fixing up these cars, and they had a whole lifestyle thing going on around it as well. And so one of the more popular national shows that kind of traveled around was called Hot Import Nights, and we were the title sponsor for that. Those events, that was huge. That was huge for building our awareness of our brand and who we were. It really helped propel us. We got lots and lots of new customers from those types of activities. So event sponsorship, again, very dependent on the marketplace you're in, could be really big. So those are just two. There's many more, and there's many more examples of how these things work. But uh, anyway, that gives you a good, rough idea of some being creative and trying to find other types of channels that can help get your message across and can have a huge amount of impact on the success of your product. If you have any questions about it, please let me know. And the next topic we're going to talk about is something called sales promotion.